Recording in progress.
Hi, my name is Calpurnia, and today we're going to talk about obsessive compulsive disorder, also known as OCD. So, a little pop quiz. OCD means you're extremely germophobic and wash your hands constantly. Does OCD predominantly a woman's disease, so men are not likely to suffer from it? Is OCD only caused by stress? There is currently no treatment for OCD. So take a moment, take that little pop quiz, and then at the end of this presentation, you can go back and see if you were right. So OCD is an anxiety disorder in which people have unwanted and repeated thoughts, feelings, ideas, sensations like obsessions, or behaviors that make them feel driven to do something like compulsions. Often people carry out the behavior to get rid of the excessive thought, but this only provides temporary relief. Not performing the excessive ritual can cause great anxiety. Some of the symptoms that we have for OCD can be both obsession and compulsion, but it's also possible to only have either or. You can only possess the obsession or you can only possess the compulsion symptoms of OCD. So let's look into some of the obsession symptoms. I'm sorry, I had a break for it. Of course, the obsessions are repeated, they're persistent, they're unwanted thoughts and urges or images that can be intrusive, which cause distress and anxiety. So some of the examples that we have are fear of being contaminated by touching objects that others have touched, doubts that you have locked the door or turned off the stove, doubts, intense stress when objects aren't orderly or facing a certain way, images of driving your car into a crowd of people, thoughts about shouting obscenities or acting inappropriately in public, unpleasant sexual images, and avoidance of situations that can trigger obsessions, such as shaking hands. Some of the compulsion symptoms, which are repetitive behaviors that you feel driven to perform. So these repetitive behaviors or mental acts are meant to reduce your anxiety related to the obsessions to prevent something bad from happening. At least that's what your thoughts are saying. You're doing this to keep these bad things from happening. So some of the examples are hand washing until your skin becomes raw, checking doors repeatedly to make sure that they're locked, or even making sure their lights are turned out, checking the stove repeatedly to make sure it's off, counting to in a certain pattern, slightly repeating a prayer word or phrase, arranging your canned goods to face a particular way, or even your pencils a particular way. Things have to be arranged in a certain order. They are examples of having compulsions when having OCD. So now that we've elaborated on some of the symptoms, here's a little video that I found that I thought would be helpful. Also, and it talks about the 4 types of OCD and how they manifest. She also speaks of what I've previously spoken about as far as how OCD um, is triggered. So let's get into the video.
Hey Psych2Goers, welcome back to our channel. We wanted to let you know that each and every one of your comments, likes, and shares help support this channel and our goal to spread awareness about psychology and mental health. You help us make psychology and mental health more accessible to everyone. So thank you so much for your support. Before we begin, we would also like to remind you that this video is for educational purposes only and is not intended to be used as a diagnosis. So please do not self-diagnose. If you suspect you or someone else might have OCD, we advise you to seek professional help. With that said, let's continue. Obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, is a mental illness that is exhibited by repetitive, unwanted, or intrusive thoughts, the obsessions, often followed by an urge to do something repeatedly, the compulsions. It is a very serious mental illness that causes a great deal of suffering to those who have it. But did you know that there can be many different ways in which OCD manifests itself? To help you get a better understanding of OCD, here are 4 different types of OCD and how they manifest. Number 1, intrusive thoughts and ruminations. When someone with OCD suffers from intrusive thoughts, it's not the occasional disturbing thought now and then. It can be normal for people to have an intrusive thought as they go about their day. They may think of something worrisome or unpleasant and brush the thought aside. With OCD, it's a different story. When someone with OCD has intrusive thoughts, they're repetitive and often constant. They can obsess on the thought for minutes or even hours. These thoughts can range in topic and be anything, but some common ones are violent intrusive thoughts, which involve a fear of harming yourself or a loved one, sexual intrusive thoughts, which can involve unwanted thoughts of causing sexual harm to someone or obsessively questioning one's sexuality, and others can involve obsessions on religion and the fear of committing sin, analyzing one's relationship excessively, and magical thinking intrusive thoughts, in which one fears that simply thinking a bad thought can make it more likely to happen. These thoughts are often followed by rituals or compulsions in order to make the bad thing not happen, or to simply assure oneself that they don't feel a certain way about a negative thought. Ruminations in OCD are when one dwells upon a question or theme that is unproductive and likely to lead nowhere. Dwelled upon for an excessive amount of time, more than your average philosopher. These are often different from intrusive thoughts as they can be indulged in rather than resisted. Someone with OCD may excessively ruminate about life after death, visualizing every scenario to the detail, leaving them detached and preoccupied from what is going on around them as they're attending to the thoughts in their mind. Number 2, checking. OCD can present itself in the need to check on something. This acts as the compulsion. Checking is often enacted out of a fear something bad will happen, such as a fire, a burglary, or harm to loved ones. This can display itself in a variety of ways. Someone may check in with their family members to gain reassurance about their fears, or maybe they feel an unrelenting need to check the door repeatedly to make sure it's locked out of fear of a burglary. Someone with OCD may even try to recall past memories to make sure they felt a certain way or didn't cause someone harm. For example, someone with OCD may be obsessing on their thoughts questioning their sexuality when they know outside of the obsessing what their sexual preference is. The individual may check or pay attention to their body for arousal, but because they're focused on not wanting this response, the body may automatically generate feelings of arousal. As research has shown, our bodies often react to what is sexually relevant and not always what we desire and value. Or another example, someone with OCD may check an email they've written over and over, analyzing for any imperfections and fear they may have written something wrong or will offend someone. Could you imagine writing an email to your boss only to check it for minutes on end, all due to a fear you may have written something that could come across as inappropriate and therefore lose your job as a result? We all generally need our jobs, so while this fear may seem to derive from an irrational place, those checking their email for the 100th time are often afraid of losing something important to them. This is a common fear for those suffering from OCD, in the sense that they love or value something so much, they will strongly feel the need to act out these compulsions to protect what they love. And since what you love and value can often change in your life, OCD will grab a hold of what it is you're enjoying and valuing and try to manipulate it inside of your mind according to your fears. This is one of the many dark features of OCD. Number 3, contamination or mental contamination. Among those with OCD, there are generally two types of contamination obsessions. One is simply labeled as contamination. Contamination is often characterized by the strong fear of being dirty or contracting germs from objects or people. Someone may not like to shake hands as they have an obsession with contracting a virus from someone else, or someone may be excessively brushing their teeth or scrubbing their hands for minutes on end out of fear of not feeling clean enough or feeling just right. A lot of physical damage can occur due to these compulsions. Mental contamination is an area of OCD researchers are just recently starting to get an understanding of. It can be evoked when someone feels as if they've been treated badly, or if someone says an abusive remark to them. The person will engage in compulsions to wash away this bad feeling, such as showering or acting out other compulsions. And number 4, symmetry and orderliness. This type of OCD manifests in different ways, such as organizing one's books or DVDs, making sure everything is neat, or clothes folded perfectly and hanging the same way. While a lot of us may simply like symmetry, but those with OCD focused on symmetry and order are obsessed about it and do not gain any enjoyment out of organizing to ensure it feels just right. Remember, what may look organized and clean to someone who doesn't have OCD may feel wrong to someone with OCD because it's about the feeling. Logically, they know their books are neatly stacked and their closet is fairly organized, but they can't shake the strong feeling that it isn't just right. This feeling may even pester them throughout the entire day, which is why they so strongly feel the need to act out the compulsion. With OCD, the compulsion often only provides relief for, often literally, a second. The thoughts and obsessions play on a loop, leaving a repetitive cycle, and compulsions are an urge to simply be free of fear and, if for only just a second, to feel right. Fortunately, there is good news and hope in some of this. There are therapists who do understand and specialize in treating OCD. Some of those affected by OCD have seen productive results through cognitive behavioral therapy from a therapist who does understand the condition. If you suspect you or someone else may have OCD, we highly recommend you seek professional help. So, do you now understand OCD a little bit more? Thanks for watching and learning more about mental illness and psychology, Psych2Goers. Did you learn something new about OCD? Are you or someone you know diagnosed with OCD? Feel free to share with us in the comments and engage with others who may suffer from the same type as you. It can help to understand your mental illness more and make you feel less alone in the process. Because you're not alone, no matter what you're going through. A bit of support could be the first step into feeling just a little bit better. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to click the like button and share it with someone who.
So we know about a little bit about the different types of OCD, and that video was very helpful. Now we're going to get into some of the stats. So OCD affects about 2.5 million adults, or 1.2% of the population, United States population. OCD has a worldwide prevalence of between 1 and 2%. So in the United States, about 2.2 of the population experiences OCD sometime in their life. On an average, people who are diagnosed with OCD when they're about the age of 19 or even earlier. The rates of OCD were found to be higher with women than in men, with women being 1.8% and men being 0.5%. There's a childhood OCD has a stronger genetic link than most adult onset OCD. So up to 65% of people that has OCD, there's a genetic link because someone else in the family has had OCD or have displayed symptoms of OCD. 9 of 10 people with OCD have either another mental health condition, with a co-occurring anxiety disorder being the most common. And about 10% of people with OCD are fully cured with their symptoms, but about 50% do report symptom improvement with treatment. And over 50% of the people report that their symptoms cause severe impairment, and 85% say that they experience anywhere from moderate to severe impairment when it comes to their symptoms that they display. Now, the OCD cycle, it's infinite, as it was previously said in the video. The OCD cycle, it starts with your obsessions, with wanting, which is your thoughts or your urges to do something, and that turns into anxiety, where you have this worry or this distress of feeling the need to do something. Then that anxiety turns into a compulsion, where it's a behavior that you have to perform to help the anxiety go away, whether it is turning out the lights or checking the stove or even checking your door to see if it's locked, or washing your hands. And then that can, when you do this behavior, that behavior gives you a sense of relief, but it's only temporary. And once that feeling of relief resides back, then you're back to the obsession of thinking about it again, having to do the what ifs and the doubts, or, should I? And it's just a never ending cycle. But that cycle is manageable with treatments, which we will discuss later in the presentation. So some of the possible causes of OCD, of course, the main cause is, there's no main cause to be correlated with OCD, of having OCD, but you have the following factors of it being biological, which is a person, chemistry, brain chemistry has changed. It can be social, psychosocial, which is something that has happened in your childhood or adult life, such as sexual abuse. And it can also be environmental, such as infections, as well as any atmosphere that you feel unsafe or unwanted in. People who have a family history of OCD have an increased risk of developing this condition themselves. Situations which can contribute to the likelihood of triggering or developing OCD can be the presence of other mental health conditions or substance abuse, other close family members with OCD, and traumatic and stressful situations. Now, OCD and IDD, which is intellectual and developmental disabilities, it's not uncommon with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Anxiety, stress, and OCD is pretty much misdiagnosed as behavior problems. Sometimes a person can have symptoms that look like OCD, but there are other disorders such as autism or Tourette's syndrome. OCD is known to occur in patients with ID and at rates least proportional to the general population. In patients with ID, its first encountered symptoms are behavioral rather than anxiety. Identifying and treating disorders in adults with ID can be complicated because of the communication deficits. It may be difficult for them to express how they're feeling and what they're fearful of. So it indicates that there's a presence of an anxiety disorder. So they become irritable or aggressive, and they refuse to engage in certain activities, and some even experience insomnia. But also remember that for someone with an intellectual disability, it is vital to discern what is considered a real life problem to them and not our own opinion of what we consider a real life problem, because they process things differently than we do. So compulsions that are common to the general population versus compulsions that are common to anyone with an intellectual or developmental disability and OCD. So with the general population, it's, hand washing, and you're checking and you're cleaning, constantly checking. With a person with IDD, the most common is when they're ordering themselves to come and hand wash, to the point where they don't understand, and things that are not seen by someone that has that other diagnosis is they're checking and they're cleaning, but it is more, what is the word I'm looking for? More prominent. So they're there are common things between the two, but in the intellectual developmental world, it is more prevalent. So this little quote that I saw is, OCD is like having a bully stuck inside your head and nobody else can see it. And which is true, because your thoughts are like taking over your mind. So you know someone that has been bullied, or even maybe you've been bullied yourself, you know how that feels when you're constantly picked on. So it's like these thoughts are constantly, you're pounding in your head, and they're constantly saying, you have to do this, you got to do this, so they're really being bullying mentally for someone that has OCD. So did you know many people have mild obsessions or compulsions that are strange or irrational, that does not interrupt their daily living? That it also can interfere with your routine, work, or relationships. That thorough medical and psychological exams are essential before any diagnosis of OCD is made. And it's also important to note that OCD is an anxiety disorder. What's most important is to make environmental and behavior changes to reduce a person's anxiety. So now we're going to watch this little video, which is pretty much a montage of different people talking what their OCD is like living with OCD, like how it affects them. And again, some terminology is reiterated as before in other videos and as I have spoken.
It stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, not obsessive cleaning disorder, not overly cleaning disorder, nothing to do with cleaning disorder. I feel like a lot of people don't know what OCD is. So there are two parts: obsessions, which are negative intrusive thoughts, and compulsions, which are like repetitive rituals. Different people have different obsessions, different compulsions, but it's not satisfying, it's not nice, it's a disorder. So yeah, please make sure you're not saying, oh, I'm a bit OCD, if you just like something like satisfying. Because I guarantee you, a disorder is not satisfying.
Imagine being forced to think about your greatest fear every second of every day and having no willpower to stop it.
now my family is safe.
I was diagnosed with OCD about 9 years ago in 2013. I was 13 at the time. The reason I'm obsessed with turning on and off the light switch and I have to do it over and over to make everything right is because I have this intrusive thought that if I don't do it and if I don't complete this task, my house might catch on fire or something bad might happen to my family if I don't do it a certain way and make everything just so.
I have suffered from OCD my whole life and struggle massively with germs. For some reason I struggle to have anyone in my bed without clean feet. So my fiancée makes sure she cleans her feet every night before we get into bed to ease my worries.
When you say you're OCD, I don't think you understand what it is. We aren't just anal about every detail. We fear something bad will happen, so we repeat a behavior multiple times to relieve the anxiety. It works temporarily, but the fear creeps back in. It's exhausting. I hope this helps you understand.
With my OCD, I have to do things till it feels right. So with perfume, I have to spray it like a certain amount of times or something really bad will happen to my family. And it makes no sense, because what is the correlation? There is none. But my head makes me think there is a correlation, and if I don't do these things, something really bad will happen, which is scary.
The door is locked, the door is locked, the door is locked. Thank you. The door is locked, the door is locked, the door is locked. Thank you.
Oh no, I washed a dish. How mentally ill.
You see that stop sign over there?
Yeah.
Definitely don't stick all of it up your ass while scream singing the YMCA.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely shouldn't do that. I don't think that would even be physically possible.
But you wouldn't have even thought about letting that stop sign turn you into a hat if you didn't deep down subconsciously want to do it.
No, I don't want to impale myself on an octagon. A hexagon at most, but not a... Oh God, do I?
When you have OCD, you are not the captain of the ship that you call yourself. Not just eccentric hand washing or being a neat freak or liking things to look tidy. It's categorized as one of the top 10 most disabling disorders by the World Health Organization for a reason.
If you're struggling with this right now, just know it can get better and it will get better. You got this.
So how some people think that OCD, when you're living with OCD, it's just, oh, you just want to be a neat freak. Oh, you just want things a certain kind of way, which really is not. As you can see in the video with the young lady, when she was talking about the stop sign, like those are the type of thoughts of how intrusive they can be with someone with OCD. So now we're going to talk about some of the most common treatments where we have psychotherapy, relaxation, and medication, which have been psychotherapy and medication are the main two treatments, common treatments that are known. But relaxation, if you throw that in, that can be helpful as well. So psychotherapy is the best type of psychotherapy, as I previously stated, which uses CBT therapy, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, where they divide the root problems of your OCD into smaller parts and solving the mental and behavioral issues one by one. You have relaxation, which is breathing exercises with imagery, or either guided meditation where someone is actually speaking and you're just listening. That helps your serotonin level arise. And medication, which works with psychotherapy. And the most common medication prescribed is SSRI, which is short for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And this drug works by increasing your serotonin levels, which is the primary chemical response to regulating your mood in your body. So, with that being said, let's practice. We're going to listen to this guided meditation video for intrusive thoughts, so we can be prepared to get our mind right and even our bodies. So let's just take a listen. Let's find a nice place where we can just meditate for a couple of minutes, okay?
Hi guys, it's Malia. This will be a guided meditation for intrusive thoughts. So intrusive thoughts oftentimes go along with OCD, or they can accompany other anxiety disorders as well. And if you're not quite sure what I mean by intrusive thoughts, you can check the description below. So let's start to find a nice comfortable seated position. If you would like to lie down, you can. Just make sure that you don't fall asleep. So getting comfortable, lengthening through the spine. And if it feels safe for you, you might close your eyes. We'll just begin by focusing on the breath. Take a big full inhale, let the belly fill up with breath. And as you exhale, letting go. Inhale, slowing down. Exhale, letting go. Big inhale, full deep exhale. And continuing to take these deep, slow breaths on your own. And we'll take all of our attention to the body. So when we're dealing with anxiety and intrusive thoughts, we can get very up in our heads. So dropping your attention into the body to notice what's happening right here, right now. Notice where you feel the anxiety in your body. When these thoughts start to come up, what happens in your body? See if you can locate the sensations in the body and then label them. So you might have a tightening in the chest or the throat. You might find some tingling, maybe some heat, a fast heartbeat, a little bit of a frantic gripping, whatever might be arising for you, gently labeling it without judgment and noticing what's happening. Keep continuing to breathe deeply. And then noticing what thoughts might be arising. Do you notice thoughts that you can't handle these sensations? Whatever's coming up for you, just noticing it. Keep allowing the belly to rise and fall as you breathe deeply. With intrusive thoughts, we might have a sense that we have to figure this out right now. We have to figure out this what if question that's going through our mind. We have to make sure that we don't do the what if, or to find an answer to the question. So if this is arising for you, remind yourself that there is no urgency. You don't have to figure this out right now. This is a false sense of urgency. This is just anxiety. Take a big breath in, full deep breath out. Notice the sense of urgency to make the thoughts go away, to reassure yourself, to seek reassurance from others, to do compulsions, whatever it might be, this urgency. There is no urgency. I don't have to figure this out right now. This is just anxiety. Take a big breath in and a full deep breath out. And noticing if the thought came up, what if this isn't just anxiety? Right? So with intrusive thoughts, there's so much doubt. We want 100% certainty that things will work out, that we won't do this or that we're safe. But we don't know with 100% certainty, and that's okay. You know, it doesn't feel like it. Drop into the body and see where that sense of uncertainty lives. What does it feel like to be uncertain? Oftentimes I'll feel a sense of groundlessness, like I'm falling because I can't control what's going to happen with 100% certainty. And just see what sensations arise for you, and then see if you can sit with this uncertainty, knowing that you have a pretty good idea of what's true when the doubt isn't overtaking you, but that you don't need 100% certainty. See if you can breathe into the sensations of not knowing for sure. Reminding yourself that there is no urgency, and that if you don't figure this out right now, if you just set it aside, trusting that it will be okay. This is just anxiety. Now take all of your attention to your breath. Let's take an inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Continue on your own. If you'd like, it might be helpful to place one hand to the chest and one hand to the belly to feel the breath in the body. And then take an inhale. Let's label it 10. Exhale, call it 10. Inhale 9. Exhale 9. Inhale 8. Exhale 8. And then continue counting on your own until you reach 0. Still staying with the count of the breath. And if you reach 0, you can start again at 10. Put all of your attention to this counting of the breath. Stop the counting of your breath. Take a big inhale and a full deep exhale. And taking both of the hands to rest on your heart center, if that feels okay for you. And really sending yourself love and compassion. This is difficult to deal with. You might be struggling right now. You might feel crazy or like a burden, or like you're not in control of your own mind, or that you're a bad person, whatever you feel as a result of these intrusive thoughts. Sending yourself some love. Softening into the fact that this is difficult, and the last thing we need to do is judge ourselves. Just knowing that you're doing the best you can, that you are still completely lovable and worthy, even when you're struggling. That this is hard, but you deserve your own love. You might repeat to yourself, may I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be filled with joy. Let's take a big breath in. Full deep breath out. Thank you so much for sharing this practice with me. May you be happy, healthy, safe, free, and loved. Namaste.
Now, how do we feel after that that relaxation video? Like, I feel so calm, at ease. So that guided meditation, that type is used a lot with people that suffer from OCD when they need to relax. So just even being able to close your eyes and take breaths, or either just imagine yourself doing a particular step and getting yourself from that anxiety, that high anxiety, to calming yourself down to the baseline. So the bottom line of OCD is sometimes you can display more than one type of OCD. It's also possible that you can have other mental health disorders along with OCD. However, regardless of the severity, treatment, procedures such as psychotherapy and medication, it has been proven to help manage OCD symptoms. If you're struggling in life due to OCD, or someone else is struggling due to OCD and the symptoms have begun to interfere with their personal and professional life, it is best to get help from a certified mental health expert to help evaluate your conditions so that you can start getting treatments on helping manage your symptoms. So I want to say thank you for tuning in with me as I discuss OCD, also known as Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. And I hope you have an amazing day. I don't know how long that was, but